What do you think when you think of church music?
I think joy and healing. I think that it's a rescue place for me. It's a place that I go for refuge, just to sit and be with God.
When I was young in church, the music is really what kept me wanting to go to church. I just wanted to sing.
It reminds me of my childhood and how we used to sing hymns. And I used to be like, oh, I hate these hymns. I just couldn't take it.
So that is where I think my faith started, was just being present with the music, and then listening to sermons later.
And then as I grew older, as you spend more time learning and going through processes in life, and life is lifing, you begin to understand what those hymns meant. And
hymns, obviously, is a big part of it, but I think of Bach too. I think of the Passions. I think of the Mass, because I studied that stuff.
Now when I sing them, especially the ones that I used to sing when I was a kid, they have a different meaning. Now, after you've lived through those trials, after you've experienced grief, after you've, dealt with suffering, the hymns, when I was younger, I was just happy to sing, and it wasn't until later that they had a lot more depth and meaning, I think, for me.
Yeah.
As a kid, it all sounded the same, and it sounded like they were crying, almost like, the Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. And I used to be like, oh my God, can we speed it up? Can we clap? Can we put some energy to it? And then as I became a young adult, I started remembering those songs when I was at my lowest point. And I was saying, well, what does that mean? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. What does it mean to not want for something? Especially when you're a college student and you don't have enough money for school, or you're going through and you just don't have enough of anything. You don't feel like you have enough people around you. You don't have enough support around you. I shall not want. And so those types of songs really meant something to me as I grew.
Also think of just anything that carries a spiritual message that is important for people to live by. And some of the popular musicians that I've been fans of my life, like Paul Simon has used church tunes for his music, like American Tune is from Mighty Fortress, I think.
No, it's Oh Sacred Head.
Oh, Sacred Head, yeah. So anyway, wrong title.
I think as a songwriter, the hymns were, I didn't even know it when I was a kid, but I think they were informing me about song structure, about lyrics, about the meaning of lyrics. And I think it's embedded in your mind when you're young about how music needs to flow. And
Big fan of James Taylor too, and he talks about his guitar playing being being influenced by the church hymns and the bass lines that he puts in his guitar parts. So it's kind of in everything.
Speaking of James Taylor, that's part of why I wanted to kind of bring you guys and talk about this, is because I've been thinking the past few weeks or so about if someone asked me, who are my greatest influences, and when I look back on them now, I put James Taylor at the top because he's the person that made me want to start playing guitar and writing songs. And I think below that, though I didn't get into him at the same time, like when I was in high school and middle school, I got into him later in college. I think I would put Bob Dylan second, just in the breadth of his music and the courageousness of him writing something like Masters of War, and then also being able to write something as beautiful as, you know, Forever Young or something like that. But when I thought about, okay, so where's my third? Like, who's probably on my top? I couldn't necessarily name a person so much as this idea of these gospel hymns, you know, and these old hymns that, like, you know, and it's something about the lyrics, it's something about the melody, that those are the songs, those are the three people whose music, you know, I come to, even though the hymns is a broader category than just one person. You know, when I'm thinking about where I want to anchor myself, like musically, if I need to figure out, you know, a new song or kind of where I want to go in a new direction, a lot of times I'll anchor myself either in James Taylor or Bob Dylan or, you know, gospel hymns. Well, and I know when I was a kid, and they still, you know, freak me out a little bit. A lot of the songs that were based on, like, when we all get to heaven and, like, all the, like, you know, I can't wait to get on the Beulah land and glory, like, the ones that, like, focused on death and the afterlife so much, like, those were a little scary for me, I guess, in some ways, or they didn't, like, resonate with me as much as I realized that they resonated with my parents and my grandparents, especially, and the people that were closer to, you know, hoping for that afterlife and that thing. And I don't think I've quite gotten old enough for them to have to be looking at them that way yet. At least knock on wood, I hope not. But oh, there's a way they hit my heart now because I've lost my grandparents. And I have that idea that there is something there to look forward to, of seeing some people that I've lost and loved, rather than just the streets of gold and the mansions. I could kind of care less about that.
Yeah. The lyricists who wrote the hymns, they took life and penned it. So many of the experiences that I sing now and I read about, it is well with my soul, and I think about the story behind it and all of those types of things, and I'm like, wow, well, it is well with my soul. No matter what I go through, as long as I'm with the Lord and I know that He has me covered, I know that it's going to be well, whatever it is. And so, yeah, those lyrics, they mean a great deal for any believer if they just stop to listen.
My mom used to say, singing your prayer counts twice for twice or something to that effect. I don't know if anybody else has heard that.
I love that.
It is well with my soul.
With my